right here on Rocket Sports Radio, keeping you informed, engaged, and entertained. My name is Michael Spinella, and I'll be your host for the next hour. This is episode 313 of the Canadiens Connection podcast, and I'm very pleased to be joined in the studio by my co-host, who is the founder and the president of Rocket Sports, Rick Stevens. And how are you doing today, Rick?
I'm doing great. You know what we can say today? We can say it's game day, and we haven't been able to say that, for a few months. It is game day. It is the rookie showcase. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later, but everything's happening. Bob Cole, everything's happening. There's a lot happening, and we have a lot to get to today.
And we are titling this episode Breakout Potential, which rookie Canadian could surprise at training camp. And on this episode, we have quite a bit to get through, like you just said there, Rick. We're going to get you up to date on everything Montreal Canadiens in this first segment. Roster updates, we'll talk about prospects. We have some quotes of the week coming from Pascal Vincent, and then some news from around the NHL. In segment 2, we will take a little bit of a dive into those breakout candidates for the Montreal Canadiens. And then segment 3, it's the Have Your Say segment. We'll turn it over to our listeners and have our Canadiens Connection question of the week as we ask, who do you think are the most NHL-ready prospects in the Canadian system? We want to hear from you. And Rick, what's the best way for everyone to reach out to us?
You can reach out to us on social media. You can reach out to us by email, but the easiest way is by the Rocket Sports text line. You got a phone, text us. 5853-ROCKET, that's 5853-ROCKET. We're part of the Rocket Sports family. We've been doing this since 2009. We entered the podcast world in 2012, thereabouts. We've been doing this a long time. Right now, the Canadiens Connection is in its 7th season. We're a weekly long-form podcast, and we hope that you'll tune in every week throughout the season. We're a little different. We may not be the guys sitting at the end of the bar, the fans, tossing out speculation and that sort of thing. We kind of rely on our connections, as our name says, Canadiens Connection, based on our media credentials and contacts throughout the league and throughout the hockey world. And again, any folks that have been with us for a while know that. Any new folks, we welcome you here to the Canadiens Connection.
And if you're not already, please make sure that you are following us on our social media. Just follow at Habs Connection on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And Rick, like you said, we've been at it for a while. We have the full backlog of Canadiens Connection episodes at canadiensconnection.fm. And here's an interesting story that appeared this past week. And I don't know if Sam Montembeault just missed the summer of love or if this counts, but he's been engaged. So a big congratulations goes out to Montreal Canadiens goaltender Sam Montembeault.
Yeah, and his fiancée, Darianne Ayotte, they announced their engagement on Instagram. Nice little beach scene with blanket and food and candles and whatnot. Looked lovely. As you said, technically, I guess it's still summer, so it was Jake Evans that declared this the summer of love for the Montreal Canadiens. In the past few months, we had Jake Evans getting married, Brendan Gallagher getting married, Josh Anderson, all of that, and now we've added Sam Montembeault, who I believe they're getting married next year, which that would line up with Patrick Laine, who's also getting married in 2025. We may have another Summer of Love next year.
2.0.
Yeah.
Make sure that you follow daily Habs posts throughout this offseason via at Rocket Sports on Twitter, and check out our exclusive content at InsideTheCanadiens.com. And here's our roster news, and we have quite a bit here. But to start, Kirby Dach has joined his teammates for workouts at Brassard. The 23-year-old was limited to 2 appearances last season due to a knee injury. So it's really nice to see him back with the team and being able to work out at least.
Boy, he looked happy. He posted, speaking of Instagram, he posted on his Instagram account some pictures, how happy he was to be back with the group. There's a lot of guys. Most of the team is at Brassard. They've even had little mini games that they've set up. And Kirby Doc was very excited to be back. There's a bit of looked like a secret handshake with Cole Caulfield. There was an embrace with Juraj Slafkovsky. Kirby Doc is happy to be on the ice and ready for the season.
Cole Caulfield was seen on the ice this week with number 13 on his helmet to honor the late Johnny Gaudreau. This is kind of a follow-up to what we talked about last week, but very, very classy from Cole Caulfield, and love to see it.
And it seemed that Johnny Gaudreau's widow, Meredith, was pleased with the choice that Cole Caulfield had made. In Cole Caulfield's Instagram post where he announced the change in jersey, she commented and said, you were so loved by Johnny, and that he would approve. And then she, on her own Instagram, she put a picture, and this goes back to the World Championships, where the two guys are walking in the streets of Ostrava, and they got their arms around each other. That's Cole Caulfield and Johnny Gaudreau. And Cole is wearing Meredith's Gaudreau jacket, a jacket that says Gaudreau on the back. So she says that John would be so honored that he's now wearing the number 13.
The Montreal Canadiens confirmed Monday what we have been reporting for some time, a brand new, I guess, do we want to call it a Jumbotron, big screen scoreboard, the big entertainment system, whatever we want to call it, has been installed at Bell Center for the 2024-2025 season, and it looks massive, so it's nice to see the team invest in game day experience. Those rafters go up pretty high, so I'm hoping that does improve the view.
Yeah, and it's a lot bigger. It's a lot heavier. It's ultra high definition. It's got the rounded corners. We've talked about this all before. It's just that the Canadiens had not put out pictures until this past week that it has been fully installed and ready for the upcoming season.
Canadiens Rookie Camp began on Wednesday, and the hockey season is in fact underway here. It's nice to see that group all together. We'll talk a little bit more about this in segment 2, but certainly starts to get me excited.
For sure. We had player testing on Wednesday. There were some on-ice sessions run by Pascal Vincent, the new head coach. If you missed part of the summer, the new head coach of the Laval Rocket. He's been running the rookie camp so far and will be behind the bench. Well, he is behind the bench as we record here, and the game is underway at the Bell Center at 1 o'clock. That's the Montreal Canadiens prospects facing the Toronto Maple Leafs prospects. Pair of games this weekend at the Bell Center called the Prospect Showdown.
Yep, Saturday and Sunday, you're going to see a lot of those top Montreal prospects. Owen Beck, Philippe Michard, Hudson, Mailloux, Reinbacher, all of those set to suit up on Saturday. So if you're in Montreal, I think this is going to be a great way to spend the afternoon. So would recommend checking it out on Sunday if you were not able to go out on Saturday.
And if you're not in Montreal, the game it'll be on RDS. It is, and as I say, it's just started. And it's on RDS, and the Canadiens are also streaming it on their website.
Quentin Miller sustained an injury prior to the Canadiens rookie camp. Always hate to see this happen in and around rookie camp time or training camp time in general. It seems like it could be a shoulder injury, but it's a tough break for this goaltender.
Yeah, he suffered a shoulder injury during a preseason game with Rimouski. Which left a hole on the roster for the rookie camp. And it's unclear whether when he'll be back, but it doesn't look like he'll be able to play in either game. We'll see if that happens. So the rookie camp goaltenders are now Sam Richard, and he played university hockey with the University of New Brunswick last season, and Matteo Drobak. And he played with Brantford in the OHL, actually a teammate of Florian Jacki. So he gets an opportunity to as an invitation with the Canadiens. Today, as we record Saturday, it's Samuel Richard in net for Montreal.
The Canadiens announced several additions and promotions in their hockey operations department on Thursday. Blink and you'll miss it, but we'll go through it here. That way everyone is up to date. To start, Roger Grillo has been hired as a coach consultant. He has a lot of experience coaching university hockey in the USA, and he does have a connection with Marty St. Louis as he coached Marty at the University of Vermont. This one, I feel like we should maybe talk a little bit more about, just because there are maybe some implications here, but in general, do we know what a coach consultant is, Rick?
Well, it's a sufficiently vague term that they can put whatever duties they want under that heading. It feels like that anyway. As you said, Roger Grillo, a lot of experience. He has a long association with USA Hockey, being brought in not as a skills consultant, not as a power play consultant, not as a skate, but as a coach consultant. So will he be on the bench? We don't know. Will he be up in the booth? We don't know. Will he be managing the power play? Will he be? We just don't know at this point. And we probably won't know until Marty St. Louis makes his way to the microphone. I'm sure he'll be asked about what the responsibilities will be for Roger Grillo. And one of the it's been a question all summer with Alex Burrows no longer being an assistant coach. Who was going to replace Alex Burrows? Time was running out, and we kept mentioning this week after week after week. It seems Roger Grillo is going to take up some responsibilities, maybe take some new responsibilities, but those will all be defined, I expect, by Marty St. Louis when we first hear from him.
And to continue along here, I'll try to go through these ones a little bit quicker. Albie O'Connell has been promoted to Chief North American Scout. Tommy Lehman has been promoted to Chief European Scout. Matt Ryan has been hired as a Pro Scout. We're good so far here, Rick?
Yeah, I think we're fine.
Okay, Dale LeBlanc has been promoted to Head of Performance. Stefan Gervais has been hired as Strength and Conditioning Coach. Mitch Freeburn replaced Gervais in Laval as the Rockets' strength coach. So that's a lot of movement. That's a few new names, a few names that we already were familiar with, moving around to different jobs, but we wanted to make sure everyone was up to date on that.
Yeah, and as you say, Albie O'Connell and Tommy Lehman is just a little bit of a promotion, a little bump. Matt Ryan from outside the organization, not the former quarterback from the NFL, as far as I know. And Dale LeBlanc was the strength and conditioning coach. He's been, he gets a new fancy title. They bring up Stefan Gervais, who was the strength and conditioning coach from the Rocket. So they need to replace that guy, and that will be Mitch Freeburn.
And with that, I think it's a good time to transition into our Habs prospect report.
It's time for the Rocket Report. The Rocket Sports Media Team is your premier source for information about the Laval Rocket, the AHL affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens, as well as Habs prospects playing in the CHL, NCAA, and leagues around the world. Bookmark thn.com/Montreal to follow our comprehensive coverage of Canadiens prospects.
Each week, we like to highlight a Montreal Canadiens prospect, and this week we will shine the spotlight on Vecqua Lakers SHL forward Philip Eriksson, drafted in the 6th round in 2023 by the Montreal Canadiens. He's someone that maybe not any other podcasts are talking about at this moment, but we wanted to. This past week, he did score a goal in a 3-1 victory with his team.
Philippe Eriksson has scored the Champions tournament. The Champions Hockey League tournament is ongoing. We saw earlier in the week Vincent's Roar scored a goal, his second of the Champions League. And Philippe Eriksson has scored a goal in each of the games he's played in. One of them was a game winner. So last I looked, he was at the top of the Champions League in terms of goals scored. That's 3 goals in 3 games. And added an assist for 4 points. Philippe Eriksson, you're right, is not a guy that many are talking about, 19 years old. But we're going to keep an eye on him, as we will with all other prospects. But he had a particularly good week, so we thought great time to feature him.
Very worthy of that spotlight. And every week here, it seems, we like to do an Ivan Demidov update as well. So far in his season in the KHL with St. Petersburg, he's played 4 games, only 1 assist so far, but Habs fans are a bit panicked at the moment over his ice time. What exactly is going on?
Well, I mean, there was a game during the week where he played a little tentatively. I don't know if it was related to a hit that he took in the game, which he did. He seemed a little bit gun shy. He was losing some of his 50-50 battles, and the next game he was demoted to the 4th line, and that was after his ice time had been reduced in that previous game. So he was demoted to the 4th line. And once that came out on social media, Habs fans went a bit crazy and said, "Oh, look what's happening. Bring them over. Can't help. Look what they're doing. Look what Coach Rotenberg is doing." We're all upset that Demidov had been demoted to the 4th line, and they just flooded the social media of SKA, and to the point where the comments section, I think, on the website got shut down. So Canadiens fans are being bullies. They don't like their prime prospect, their blue chip prospect, to be, seemingly mistreated. But I mean, this is all normal. The next game, he was back up in the lineup. He was skating well. He was chasing down loose pucks. He was creating offense. He looked a little bit more confident and motivated after spending some time on the 4th line. I mean, he's still getting, at last I looked, 11 minutes or thereabouts, 10:42 in ice time averaging. But it seems that the coaching staff and the team officials are not terribly thrilled about all the criticism they're getting from outside of KHL fans and whatnot. It was Rotenberg this week, and this is obviously translated. He says, "Tell me, in which other KHL club do 18-year-old guys consistently play? Constantly. We're not talking about one shift. We know teams in the KHL where a young guy comes out for 10 seconds so that they can put a check mark next to his name. We don't work like that." And here's the quote that I think is most meaningful from Rotenberg. "If a hockey player deserves playing time, he will play." And so he's kind of dismissing the whole business that, oh, well, Demidov's not committed long-term to the team, so we're sidelining him and all. He's dismissing that completely. So my only advice is just settle down, calm down. It's going to be a long season. The Canadiens trust that Demidov's in the right place and that his development will be handled properly. And so again, just calm down for now, please, because it doesn't do him any good if the coach or the team officials are being hounded by Habs fans.
And to lighten the mood a little bit, how about a list that puts the Montreal Canadiens towards the top? EP Rinkside published their 2024 NHL prospect pool rankings, and just the top 3 here: San Jose, Chicago, and then Montreal at number 3. So that's certainly quite flattering, and appreciate the compliment there, EP Rinkside.
Yeah, it's we like EP Rinkside and elite prospects, of course, they're related, and we've had their scouts on our show for the last few years. This one was written by David St. Louis, their lead scout. He has a little bit of a bias towards the Montreal Canadiens, so take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. He's still looking for big things from some prospects that may not be, well, Xavier Simoneau, for one, is still on his list. He's looking for him to come in and somehow make the lineup. But anyway, he's very enthusiastic, has the Canadiens at number 3, and that's the good news.
A little bit more good news here is Sportsnet released their top 23 NHL prospects under the age of 23. The rules here are that players on the list were ranked by Sportsnet's Jason Bukala and Sam Cosentino, friends of the show, by the way. All are 23 years of age or younger. None of them have made their NHL debut. No goalies are included. And here we go. Number 1, Celebrini. That's obvious. 2, Ivan Demidov.
Yeah.
So that's very good for the Montreal Canadiens. And the Canadiens actually have a pair of prospects here, as number 11, David Reinbacher, makes this list as well. So that's a pair of Habs prospects, both drafted at number 5. And you love to see that.
In this list of 23, they say in the preview that 18 teams are represented, and only the Sharks, the Canadiens, Blues, Utah, and the Canucks have 2 players, as you said, with Demidov and Reinbacher on this list. Also great news, and again, 2 people who have been on the show and guys we respect.
Some news coming from the AHL. Beginning this fall, the AHL streaming service will now become AHL TV on Flow Hockey and move over to flowhockey.tv. They are promising improved high-quality streams and comprehensive coverage of AHL games. That being said, Rick, I don't know that this changes a whole lot for the Laval streams, right?
Yeah, Laval have been pretty high quality. Certainly you'll notice a difference in some of the road games for Laval. Some of those teams didn't have the proper equipment. They will this year, and you'll have a better quality product. You also have access to the complete menu from Flow Hockey. And Flow Hockey, I mean, ECHL, the junior leagues, they have quite an extensive catalog of games. So the advantage is you will have a lot more content to choose from. The disadvantage is you're going to pay a fair bit more than you were paying for AHL TV last season. We should also say that with that announcement, that one of our contributors, Patrick Williams, I call him the guru. There's just no better reporter who covers the AHL. Patrick Williams is going to be part of Flow Hockey and contribute articles to Flow Hockey. And we remember Chris Peters on Flow Hockey, great on draft, and he appeared on our show just after the draft and did a summary and an analysis of the Canadiens' picks after the draft. Well, I think that's a pretty formidable team with Chris Peters and our own Patrick Williams.
So I'm looking forward to that. And you can find all of our content about Canadiens prospects at our Rocket Sports YouTube account, InsideTheCanadiens.com. And now it's time to get to our quotes of the week. And we have a few quotes to get to, all coming from Pascal Vincent. That's Laval Rocket head coach Pascal Vincent, who has been in charge of the Canadiens Rookie Camp so far this week. And just to kind of bring ourselves to it, to start things off, here's some audio from Pascal Vincent as he talks about rookies experiencing the Bell Center.
That's going to be great. And playing against the Maple Leafs, coaching our young guys. Obviously, we're there to develop, so the systems and the X's and O's won't be perfect, obviously, but it's we want our guys to show there's a reason why they're here. There's a reason why somebody at some point said, yes, we're going to bring you to camp, or we're going to draft you, or we're going to, whatever it is. There's a reason why you're going to wear that jersey that day, and we want to see it. We want to see what you're good at. So that's going to be exciting. I think I'm excited for myself, don't get me wrong, but I'm super excited for the players to live that experience, because I think there's going to be a big crowd, so it's going to be awesome.
Really interesting quote from Pascal Vincent. Of course, he talked about it's going to be exciting for the rookies to play in the Bell Center, of course, full building and all that. But he's describing there kind of a two-way street, that it's up to the prospects to show who they are and what they're good at, but it's up to us to discover. He said that there's other people in the organization that saw fit to include these prospects on the roster. So it's up to the prospects to show those qualities, and it's up to us to. He insinuated it's up to them to take note of those. I thought it was very, very kind of an insightful comment, and gives respect to the rest of the organization for identifying qualities in the prospects and saying this guy's worthy of including him in the rookie camp.
Like I said, we have a lot of different quotes coming from Pascal Vincent here. A few of these we were not able to get the audio of, and we had to translate them from French, but I'll let you get started on that one, Rick.
Yeah, we could play the French audio, but let's make it easier for our listeners. And these were translated by Chris G. This is Pascal Vincent quote, "The decisions you take in the NHL are to win the game. Those same decisions will not necessarily be taken in the AHL. If we're up 2-1 and there's a defensive zone face-off, in the NHL, you send your veteran and you know you'll win it and put you in a better chance to win the game. In the AHL, we'll certainly send the young player that needs to experience that moment. That decision might cost us the game, but the organization will grow." This is brilliant. This is exactly fits with the kinds of things that Kent Hughes has been saying about how he wants to grow the prospects, let the prospects grow in Laval. And it's completely opposite to the way Jeff Wool handled the prospects. It's completely opposite to Joel Bouchard. Joel Bouchard. What am I saying? Where they said, no, we have to prioritize the veterans. We have to make sure that we don't disappoint the fans. In terms of J.F. Wool said that. Joel Bouchard said the problem with putting out a rookie is that everybody on the bench is going to be mad at you if he loses the faceoff. I mean, these are the kinds of issues that Pascal Vincent is making clear right from the start. We're prioritizing development, and that may mean different kinds of decisions than the ones that are made at the NHL level.
Love to hear that. Honestly, it's a little bit refreshing, and it's nice to hear that at least where we are right now, it seems like these young prospects are going to be taken care of and developed properly. One more bit from Pascal Vincent that we can read out to everyone. Once again, translated from French, and the quote here from Pascal Vincent is, "The Rockets' first objective is to help the Montreal Canadiens. Our goal is to develop players in a positive environment, in an environment where it's fun to go to the arena, an environment that is competitive, and create good habits. We want to win in Laval. We all want to win. We're in the job to win hockey games. Our number one rule is to help our young players and give them the best possible chance to be promoted and stay in the NHL." End quote. And love that. That certainly ticks all the boxes we wanted to hear, doesn't it, Rick?
Yeah, it does, and it's an extension of what his philosophy that he presented after he was hired for the job. That the first objective of the Laval Rocket is to help the Montreal Canadiens. It's not, as he said before, Calder Cups and wins and all that. That's nice and it's great, but our first objective is to help the Canadiens. I thought it would be helpful since we have the audio. We played the audio from Pascal Vincent when he was hired in episode 305. I thought I'd bring it back and let's just hear two cuts of Pascal Vincent from just after his hiring and see if it follows along with what we just read from Rookie Camp.
But it's the NHL, and in the NHL, you have to win hockey games. The American League is different. It's keeping an eye on tomorrow while we develop today, and how can we bring our players to a place where they can perform at the NHL level.
So that follows along with exactly what he said. Develop today, keep an eye on tomorrow, and again, the focus is on the NHL. Let me just play one more clip, and then I'm going to bring you in for your comments on this. But this one is again from our episode 305 when Pascal Vincent was hired.
The goal is to win the Stanley Cup. That's the ultimate goal, and we want to win the Stanley Cup in Montreal. If we win the Calder Cup in Laval in the meantime, great. That's a bonus, and we're going to be thinking about it. We're going to be talking about it. We want to create a winning environment in Laval. But the goal, the ultimate goal, is winning the Stanley Cup, and how we're going to help our players if they're being called up, when they're being called up, how are we going to prepare them properly so they can help the Montreal Canadiens.
What's the goal of the Laval Rocket? To win the Stanley Cup, because the Laval Rocket, Kent Hughes talked about when he was first hired, breaking down silos. I always felt that Jeff Wool operated the Laval Rocket as a silo. But Pascal Vincent understands that his role is, as part of the organization, to win the Stanley Cup. Calder Cups are nice, all playoffs are nice, all that's nice, but the real goal, and he'll celebrate as much as anyone else when the Montreal Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Now, Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you were the first one to tell me that the goal of the Laval Rocket was for the Montreal Canadiens to win the Stanley Cup. Something along those lines. I feel like that did come from you at some point, didn't it?
I have been saying this for years, and I know there's people online that have argued with me. There's people who I've had face-to-face discussions in press boxes about this. But no, everybody, the guy who runs the Zamboni, the guy who, the person who makes the copies, everyone in the Montreal Canadiens organization, it's their responsibility to do their job as well as they can so the organization wins the Stanley Cup, and then everybody celebrates that. I've been saying it forever. Everybody has got to be focused on that goal, and it sounds like for the very first time that there's a head coach with the AHL affiliate that thoroughly understands that and has articulated that.
Yeah, absolutely love to hear it. And like I've said a couple times here, everything I've heard from Pascal Vincent so far certainly checks all the boxes of what I want to hear from an AHL coach. And it's certainly just nice to have a new voice come in and prioritize development of the young prospects ahead of playing some of those veterans like we've seen in the past couple of years in Laval. When we had JF Wool in Laval, not only were prospects not being developed all that well, it seemed, but the team also was not winning a whole lot or making it very far. So I think the change in attitude will be great for that culture, and I'm sure all Laval Rocket fans and all Montreal Canadiens fans are going to be super excited to have this guy behind the bench.
I agree, 100%. And when you go to a Laval Rocket game, celebrate the fact that You're seeing prospects. You're seeing players who are going to be future Montreal Canadiens, and you're going to see them in important roles at important times in the game.
That's exactly right. And I think with that, let's get to our hockey news and notes from around the league. And a little challenge for everyone. If you can figure out the theme of all these news items, then you win some bragging rights. Let us know. So to start here, former Canadiens captain Max Pacioretty signed a professional tryout contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs on Wednesday. Happy for Max. I hope he gets his career back on track and makes the team. It's going to be a cursed image to have him in a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. It's going to give me nightmares, but at the end of the day, I am excited for the person to get another opportunity.
Especially that, he's run into injury after injury with the Capitals last year, 23 points in a half a season. And now he gets another opportunity to jumpstart his career with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Josh Georges would not approve, but good luck to Max.
Former Canadiens defenseman Jordy Ben has announced his retirement. He's played over 600 NHL games, quite a lengthy career too.
And he was a fun guy. He was just a fun guy. I remember talking to him about all kinds of things, and he just brought a good attitude every day, and was a fan favorite to a certain extent for his time in Montreal.
Colorado Avalanche forward Arturi Lehkonen will miss the start of the 2024-2025 season. Lehkonen underwent off-season shoulder surgery, and there's no firm timeline on his return.
Nathan McKinnon made this announcement, and unfortunately, Lehkonen is not ready to go for a training camp, and presumably not for the opening night roster either. And have you figured out the theme yet of the guys we're talking about in the hockey news and notes?
Yeah, you get two more stories to hear and a couple opportunities to figure it out still if you haven't. The New York Rangers are expected to sign defenseman Madison Bowie to a player tryout agreement. He was in the AHL the past two seasons with Montreal and Vancouver's AHL affiliates.
He was with Montreal, you say?
Yep.
Go ahead. We have one more.
New York Islanders have invited goaltender Keith Kincaid to camp on a PTO. At this point, I think Keith is very much just an AHL goalie. Not too many NHL starts as of recent, as far as I know.
Former Canadiens goaltender.
Yep.
Legend Keith Kincaid.
So I think with that, we'll head into our first break here. We'll hear a message from our sponsors, DraftKings, and then you'll want to stick around for a big topic segment as we talk about breakout potential. This is the Canadiens Connection podcast right here on Rocket Sports Radio.
NFL Week 1 is here, and a new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown. Or maybe you want to build a parlay filled with 3 or 4 or 5 different players who you believe will score a touchdown. Are you ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the best place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Welcome back to the Canadiens Connection podcast right here on Rocket Sports Radio. I'm Michael Spinella, and you can find me on Twitter at the Spinella. With me in the studio is our president and founder of Rocket Sports, Rick Stevens. Make sure to give him a follow on Twitter at Rocket Sports. You can also follow at Habs Connection on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Plus, check out our website, CanadiensConnection.fm. And just a little reminder here to make sure that you are subscribed to the Canadiens Connection podcast in the player or on your favorite podcast app. That way, you never miss a single episode. And Rick, the rookie game's underway here. Did we want to, is that the perfect segue into this segment here? We'll talk about it a little bit along the way, maybe, as we get updates. But the Montreal Canadiens Rookie Camp took place this past week as well, with the main training camp set to open in just a few days. Last week, we discussed the battle for open roster spots on defense, including Lane Hutson, Logan Mailloux, Jaden Struble, David Reinbacher, and Adam Engstrom. And interesting that I believe Adam Engstrom got on the board.
As we're recording, and again, we're not going to drill down into assists and all sorts of things. The Toronto Maple Leaf prospects are up 2-1 on the Montreal Canadiens. The one goal by the Canadiens, that is Adam Engstrom. The other news of note in that first period, about 1:55 into the game, first shift, Florian Jacki, first fight in a Montreal Canadiens jersey. So that seems to fit somehow. This is a lot of fun. And of course, Canadiens fans are thoroughly enjoying it. If you're listening to this later on Saturday, and you missed the game, you still have an opportunity on Sunday. That's Sunday at 1:00. And the game will be live streamed on the Montreal Canadiens website.
So with that, did we want to start things off here just by recapping some of this battles for the opening spots on defense? I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but perhaps some audio from David Reinbacher talking about the competition with the young defenseman would help.
I mean, it's amazing. That's what I dream of. I mean, you get better every day, and everyone is pushing each other, and that's pretty good for our organization because everyone is getting better. Everyone has a benefit out of it. So we're all really happy that it's a great competition here, and we're getting a huge group here.
So it's not a matter of folks wilting under the competition. There are very good defensemen for the Montreal Canadiens in this rookie tournament. You look at the top four. Top pairing is Lane Hutson and Logan Mailloux. I should mention that Logan Mailloux is wearing the C. He's the captain for Game 1 of the rookie tournament against the Leafs. And Owen Beck is wearing an A. Sean Farrell is also wearing an A as an alternate captain. But back to the pairings, that's Lane Hutson and Logan Mailloux on the top pairing. Adam Engstrom and David Reinbacher on the second pairing. We go down to Owen Protz, the terror that he is, on the third pairing, and some invitees. But that top four is pretty darn good. And we hear David Reinbacher saying this is all positive and welcoming the opportunity to compete against these. He said it's motivating for the players, and it's good for the organization. Each one of them seems to welcome this. Logan Mailloux said, quote, "We're all good friends, so being on the ice every day helps us. We all push each other, and that's how we get best results." And then he goes on to say something that we said last week, but I don't think this internal competition is going to be limited to camp. It's something that should continue throughout the year. within the team. We talked about this. We've been saying this. Elliot Friedman, we played the quote last week about this is something that's going to be an ongoing story for the Montreal Canadiens, this internal competition, how it's going to sort out, who are going to be the defensemen that the Canadiens are going to rely on, who is going to grab that spot and not let go of it, as Elliot Friedman said. I think we'll talk about. We talked about it last week. We're going to talk about it this week, and it's going to be ongoing. But it's for, at least for now, the players are seeing it as very exciting, and they welcome the competition.
Yeah, certainly is exciting, and I know that there are a lot of spots open on defense, like we talked about, but also I wonder if there are going to be some spots on forward available, and who are these other young players that are going to look to create waves at rookie camp and maybe be a mainstay at Canadiens' main training camp?
Well, that's right. And I thought it was a good opportunity to look at, to talk about some of the forwards. We talked about the defensemen last week, to talk about some of the forwards and kind of group them, not necessarily by talent level, but by where their challenges are this season. And the first group, we have players who, in my estimation, are going to be vying for a spot on the opening night roster. We know that Raphael Harvey-Pinard is not going to be available because of his injury. So who's going to grab one of those spots? Is it going to be Owen Beck? Is it going to be Emil Heineman? Going to be Oliver Kapanen who comes in and steals a spot? Or is he going to have to head back to Timra, and will it be Sean Farrell, who probably one of the more intelligent people in players in the organization? Is he going to grab a spot? So I thought we'd talk about those players, and in doing that, let's hear from Owen Beck about the level of talent at the camp.
In terms of our camp, yeah, I think there are a lot of guys that were drafted pretty high in the past couple of years, and I think as we all kind of mature and grow, it's gotten to be a really competitive camp, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's only going to push everybody to be better and to be the best version of themselves, and bring the most out of everybody.
So he's talking about being the best, bringing the best out. This competition brings the best out. And, unfortunately, these prospects, they can't arrive at camp and take their time to get into shape. They have to come ready. And it seems like they all have. Owen Beck, for one, he's put on 15 pounds of muscle. He's talked about how he needs to have better strength and weight and size to be able to compete in the NHL. And he's done a lot of work in the offseason to help that. And he sounds very confident in that clip.
Yeah, that's for sure. I like that quote coming from Owen Beck, and I like that he's excited that there's a lot of other competition, almost as if he likes a good challenge there. So you kind of touched on this a little bit, but we broke these forwards into different groups on it, perhaps maybe tiers even. And in this first group, we called it could make the roster: Owen Beck, Emil Heineman, Oliver Kapanen, Sean Farrell. You talked about those guys a little bit each. One thing I wanted to mention, though, is Owen Beck. He's been to a couple other camps. He's been in a couple other preseasons. He looked like a guy that probably could have made the team both of those occasions. So he's certainly someone in my mind that is going to be an early favorite, right?
I think so. He was a late cut last year, and he's so mature. He has that, the Memorial Cup, the MVP, and he's ready to graduate. He's ready for that role. I thought it was pretty disrespectful of one of the Montreal media reporters who asked Beck the question, so did you spend the summer watching AHL clips to get ready for the AHL this season? And I mean, apparently you're not ready for the season. And Beck, he said, no, I watched the NHL. I watched the NHL and some NHL clips because everybody aspires to a high level. But just listen to him. He also talked about the opportunity to play at the Bell Center, and he just spoke with maturity, and he's excited for his teammates who haven't already had that opportunity. Listen to this clip.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, I've been there before in preseason, and even just the preseason crowd or the red and white game is always sold out, and the atmosphere is unreal. I don't think you'll find anything like it, as you guys probably know best, anywhere in the NHL. So, I'm really looking forward to it, to get back into that environment, and I'm sure all the guys that are new here this year are going to have a blast.
Yeah, so he's one of the guys that that others look up to in camp, and that's reflected by the fact that he's wearing a letter on his jersey for the first rookie showcase game.
Yeah, and you mentioned Sean Farrell earlier. I'll throw Emil Heineman into this group as well, as players that I think they were healthy last year, performed pretty well, but they did have some injuries that got in the way. Particularly Heineman, I think, could have even made the team out of camp as well, had some injuries not gone in the way, and he was actually put up pretty high on the lineup, playing in the top 6 during last year's preseason with some pretty talented players as well. In terms of Oliver Kapanen, the other player that we put into this group one, 21 years old, he's a right shot center. He played in Liga against men with Calpaw last season, and I think that experience is going to really help him out coming into this training camp as well.
Yeah, switched to the SHL this season because I think he was just too good for that league. He could surprise some folks at camp this year. Sean Farrell, admittedly, and he spoke about it this week, that he had a difficult adjustment to the AHL. He said it took him about a month to feel comfortable. And once he figured it all out, once he figured out how to be his kind of player and be effective at the AHL level, he was injured and out for quite a while. And then he had to kind of relearn everything. So he's looking to make some kind of a mark this season.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And with that, I think we'll transition here into our group 2 that we are referring to as a group that's competing mostly to show that they have something to prove in Laval, and that's going to include Riley Kidney, Jared Davidson, and Philippe Bichard, who we coincidentally have some audio from.
I know everything here now. It's my 3rd year, and I know all the guys, all the coaches, all staff. So just wanna keep learning from the coaches and keep pushing the guys and new guys and trying to help them, and also wanna show that I belong here and it's my 3rd camp. So just wanna prove that it's my 3rd camp, and just wanna be the best on the ice as I can.
I want to show that I belong here. And you know that there's been lots of questions by Canadiens fans about, well, he was a first-round pick the same draft year as Juraj Slafkovsky, and he wants to prove that he's not just an attachment, or he wasn't just picked up as a buddy of Juraj Slafkovsky, that he's an offensive player in his own right. And he'll have an opportunity in Laval to show that. And yes, you're right. With any of these players, I think they have something to prove, and will probably be given a fresh opportunity. Riley Kidney wasn't necessarily thought of that highly by JF Houle, and fell down the ranks. Jared Davidson, we remember talking about Jared Davidson at the end of his junior season, and how effective he was, what a lethal shot he had, and that guy that comes in and not much is expected of him, but really showed in junior what he had, And I think he had an inconsistent year because I don't think the coach showed a lot of confidence in him last year. So each of these three guys, I think in our opinion, but also it seems to be coming out from them, they feel that they have something to prove.
Yeah, I like Jared Davidson. I do remember the time we were talking about him towards the end of his junior career and wondering how he has not signed a contract yet. I liked bits and pieces of what I saw, but of course, like you said, I don't think he was particularly a coach favorite, maybe not always put into the right spots to succeed. Riley Kidney, I'm going to be honest, I expected a little bit more from Riley Kidney coming into last season. I think that maybe that was just an adjustment period. I'm sure he'll get his opportunities again this year, but I think that this is a good candidate for someone that can come out and make a pretty big statement and put himself back on the map.
He had a great junior career. He was an offensive weapon. I think he wasn't ready for the physicality of the AHL. He got knocked around a bit, and hopefully he spent the summer improving his strength and size.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then that leads us into our group three. I don't know what we want to call them. Florian Jacki, Luke Tuck, Tyler Thorpe. Coincidentally, that is a line that is playing together today at that rookie competition. And to start things off, we have Florian Jacki talking about play a physical game because possibly of his brother Arbor.
Yeah, I want to be physical. I mean, if you watch my games, that's a big part of my game. I like grinding it up in the corners. I like being physical, kind of in-your-face hockey. That's my style of play. I like it. So, yeah, it's not because my brother tells me to do anything. I think that's a player I'm going to be at the next level, so I just embrace the role.
So don't make the mistake of saying, oh, you're just a physical player because your brother told you to be. He likes in-your-face hockey. He was playing in-your-face hockey on the very first shift of the rookie game, where he 1 minute and 55 seconds into the first game with the Leafs, he got into a fight with Leafs prospect Chaz Sharp. So dropping the gloves for the very first time in a Montreal Canadiens jersey, that's Florian Jacki. He loves that in-your-face hockey.
Yeah, I know that the group three is technically a tier down from the group two, but I feel like if anyone's going to really fly up our rankings, it has to be a Jacki. It's really hard to count out that family from anything. I know when Arbor came to Montreal the first time, he wasn't really expected to do a whole lot, and then he ended up making the team out of camp. So I'm never going to put my bets against anyone with the last name Jacki. In terms of Luke Tuck and Tyler Thorpe. Again, I think these guys are likely earmarked for the AHL, but they have some physicality. I think they both have a little bit to prove here coming into camp. Certainly, at the very least, want to make a name for themselves.
The Bash Brothers. Let's
okay,
just name them that. Good on Pascal Vincent for putting this line together. My goodness. Florian Jacki, he said that he wants to play in-your-face hockey. Luke Tuck this week said, I'm mean. I like to be mean out there. Tyler Thorpe was participating in the Vancouver Giants camp, throwing his weight around the most. We read that report a week or so ago saying what a gritty player he was at camp. These are three players who each one has size, each one likes to play physically, and they are going to be fun to watch if they remain. Well, they're going to be fun to watch no matter where they appear in the lineup, wherever each of these players play individually. But if they play together, man, buy your tickets. You want to watch this with the Laval Rocket.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And especially with that AHL brand of hockey, I feel like this is going to be a very good line if they are, in fact, kept together somehow.
Yeah, this is fun. And listen, we don't have any goaltenders on our list because, as we said, the ones that are at the rookie camp are invitees. most of these Canadiens prospects will graduate to the main training camp. The tryouts, the invitations, maybe not so much. But then next week we're going to see, people have been asking about, where's Jakub Dobas? He will be attending the main camp, not the rookie camp. Connor Hughes, who was added in the off season. Then we love talking about goaltenders, but we're going to save that grouping for next week.
Yeah, we'd like to see them a little bit more before we talk about them, and especially Connor Hughes, someone that I don't think we have a full book on quite yet. I know we've talked about him a little bit after that signing was made, but certainly going to be curious to see what he can do on the ice, and willing to be patient and wait for that. So that leads us pretty well into our Canadiens Connection question of the week, as we ask all of our listeners, who do you think are the most NHL-ready prospects in the Canadian system? We want to hear from you, so make sure that you reach out to us. And as you're thinking about it, did you know that this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp? And here's Amy to talk a little bit more about that.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. So it's back to school time for the kids, right? Well, let me ask you something. Take just a second and think about what something is that you'd like to learn. I'm going to freely admit I'm one of those lifelong learners. Call me a nerd if you want, but I love learning new things and learning about things, whether it's history, whether it's science, whether it's language, whether it's art, whether it's, you name it. I find so much satisfaction out of learning things. I think some of that stems from just natural curiosity, but the other part of it is that it makes you feel like you've accomplished something when, hey, I learned this today. And it could be something that takes 5 minutes, or it could take 5 weeks if you take like an online course or something like that. There's so many things that we try to make time for during the course of a day. Carving out a little bit of time to learn something new isn't always at the top of the priority list either. But kids are always like learning and growing. We lose a little bit of that curiosity as adults. And I think sometimes when we stumble upon something that really grabs our attention, it kind of reawakens that awe that we had as kids in that natural curiosity. So again, I ask, what's something that you would like to learn? Is it a new language? Is it how to garden, how to cook something? Is it, figuring out how to, the ins and outs of electronics or computers, or maybe it's even a new sport that you'd like to learn how to do? So you might be asking, how does all of this relate to the fact that at the top of this spot, you said this show is sponsored by BetterHelp? Well, therapy can help you reconnect with that whole sense of wonder, because your back to school era can come really at any age. Therapy isn't necessarily just about talking. It's about learning as well. And it's about learning positive coping skills or how to set boundaries in your life. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. And really, it's not just for those who've experienced major trauma. It can just be as simple as taking a few minutes a day for a little bit of self-care. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And you just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And hey, you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge if you just feel like you're not completely gelling with the therapist you're originally matched with. Rediscover your curiosity this back to school season with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN.
The Canadiens Connection podcast, right here on Rocket Sports Radio. You can follow at Habs Connection on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Plus, check out our website, canadiensconnection.fm. And feel free to text us anytime via the Rocket Sports text line, 5853-ROCKET. That's 5853-ROCKET. And I think I said it last week, but Rick, certainly we're getting excited for the season to be underway, excited to start seeing some of these prospects on the ice.
Just spotted Roger Grillo in the Canadiens box at the Bell Center. He's there. He's watching the prospects. Okay, maybe that's not as exciting as a Florian Jacquet fight or Lane Hudson doing his thing or Adam Engstrom scoring. Okay, I'm just making a joke.
Yeah, but we know that there's always a lot going on with these Montreal Canadiens, and here's how to keep up. Here's what you need to know from Rocket Sports. We cover the Montreal Canadiens, and you can find all of that coverage in one place, InsideTheCanadiens.com. We've been a source that you can trust for the past 15 years, and we put out plenty of content throughout the week. First and foremost, make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Just search @AllHabs and you'll be able to pull that up. Every single Monday, you will be able to find this podcast on there, The Canadiens Connection. Last week's episode was entitled Canadiens Rookie Camp Face Off, who will be the top blue line star, and we got plenty of reaction to that we'll get to a little bit later on in this segment. But if you have not checked out that already, make sure you do, and look out every single Monday on our YouTube channel for brand new episodes. Every Tuesday we're going to have the Rocket Hockey Report, and that will be returning soon with the season coming back. And on Thursday, we did get a brand new episode of the Habs Hockey Report. Glad to see that that's back. Nice to see Amy Johnson back on the big screen once again. And this latest episode was entitled Canadiens Rookie Camp Primer, 11 top Habs prospects to watch. And she does a phenomenal job. It's as if she never took a little break there. So it's nice to have Amy Johnson back putting these out week to week. Make sure that you leave a like, leave a comment too. Amy loves to read through all of those, and hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss a single one of our episodes. We also have a notification bell, so if you want to be the first to find out whenever we put out a brand new piece of content, make sure to tap that. And make sure that you're subscribed to the premier Rocket Sports Radio podcast on your favorite podcasting app, The Canadiens Connection. You can also find all of our episodes at CanadiensConnection.fm. We'll be here every single Saturday as we head into the season. We don't even take a break in the off season, so if you're looking for something to listen to throughout the summer, looking for something to listen to while everyone goes out on Christmas break, we'll be here every single Saturday, and you can depend on that. If you enjoy the show, we would appreciate if you left us a 5-star review, and if you want to help us out just a little bit more, share this podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, or on any of your social media accounts. We would really appreciate it. We are your inside link to the Montreal Canadiens. And Rick, just a little announcement here. We're looking for some kind and friendly people to reach out to us.
That's right. Reach out to us. Send us a text, 5853-ROCKET, or an email, hello@rocketsportsmedia.com. If you want to join this great Rocket Sports team for the upcoming season, you want to get involved, you have a particular talent, you want to get involved with the podcast, with articles, or even more behind the scenes, we want to hear from you. Hello@rocketsportsmedia.com is the email address, or send a text at 5853-ROCKET.
Yep, can tell you that it is a fun experience to be with the Rocket Sports team, and we look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. And now it's time to get to our Canadiens Connection question of the week, as we ask all of our listeners, who do you think are the most NHL-ready prospects in the Canadian system? We want to hear from you. 5853-ROCKET is the Rocket Sports text line. You can also comment on any of our social medias, leave a comment on YouTube. But I know you just said that email, Rick, but if people have a little bit more to say, let's hear that email once again.
It is hello@rocketsportsmedia.com.
So throughout the week, we received lots of text, tweets, emails, and comments, and we received a ton of reaction to Canadiens Connection episode 312 as we asked all of our listeners which defenseman will earn a spot on the Montreal Canadiens roster out of training camp. Lane Hudson, Logan Mailloux, Jaden Struble, David Reinbacher, Adam Engstrom, and we want you to pick two of those. So to start things off, Rick, we got a comment on Facebook, I believe.
Yeah, this one, there are quite a few comments on Facebook. This one, Bruce in Gander, Newfoundland, he's not messing around picking two. He's all in, puts all the chips behind Logan Mailloux. Bruce is saying Logan Mailloux is the guy. Whether it means anything or not, Logan Mailloux is wearing the C, as we mentioned earlier, in today's game.
And this also sparked some reaction internally with the Rocket Sports team on our Slack group, as I'll read out a few comments from our team members. As Dr. Morris says, Hudson and Mailloux, similarly, not wasting any time, but also including Elaine Hudson there. Mike Raschel says Hudson and Mailloux out of camp, but have a feeling Reinbacher works his way into a permanent top 6 role by midseason. Will force a call-up by end of year with his play, in my opinion. Some Laval seasoning will be good for him to start the season, though. And Brian comments saying, not to sound like a parrot, but I say Mailloux and Hudson as well. I can't see Reinbacher being ready. They know what Struble can do. Really important to go get a long look and opportunity for both to get NHL exposure and experience. And I also commented on this, maybe aimed a little bit more towards what Mike Raschel said in terms of Reinbacher coming up later in the season. And I said, well, as my good friend Rick Stevens pointed out on the podcast, I think one David Savard is primed to be traded before the deadline. So that certainly would open a spot for a David Reinbacher in that scenario.
Indeed. And we talked about when's the timing of that going to happen? And a lot of that is going to depend on the performance of a Hudson, on a Mailloux, on a Reinbacher, whether, maybe by Christmas it's a David Savard trade, or waiting more closely to the deadline. Lane Hudson involved in a play on the ice. He did his magic, fed it to Riley Kidney. We just mentioned Riley Kidney, and Tyler Thorpe with a one-timer. Caught the inside of the post. Leafs up 3-2. The Leafs have scored 3 power play goals, and we talked about goaltending and whatnot. But Lane Hudson, he set the table for the Canadiens' second goal of Saturday's game.
Yeah, nice to see him get involved. And as we kind of said off air, I think this Montreal team is a little bit better than the Toronto rookie team, but goaltending seems to be the big difference, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what you're going to get in a rookie tournament, especially when a guy like Quentin Miller, a prospect, went down with an injury, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Rick, we did get a comment on YouTube from @YouBasic, and I'll let you take it away.
YouBasic says, I don't know why potties don't see that Hughes won't just toss players out. Apparently we don't get that. Struble and Barron have to play, so Hughes gets good value with a trade, or they outplay Xhekaj or Mailloux, etc. Rookies are far better suited to the AHL, so we can give them the best prep and evaluation. We can get a great return for a good young D-man with a low salary who is ready. Laval has to be a good team, and that's the best training you give them. Okay, I'm not sure I'm following all that, but it seems that I don't think that Kent Hughes is going to give anybody away for free. He doesn't want to lose anybody on waivers. We're talking about particularly Justin Barron here, and that I think that it's unlikely that a young player, Jordan Harris was traded, Jonathan Kovacevic was traded in the offseason. More likely we're going to look at a David Savard during the season, but we don't know. We'll see. We'll watch with anticipation. Just as you do. YouBasic goes on to say, question, do you think it's good strategy to rotate young players in and out of Montreal to get a taste, make a good buck as a bonus, and evaluate them to replace those expiring contracts? Thanks. P.S. Pascal Vincent will get this thing happening. Thank you for a great show every week. I love it. So thank you for the positive comments. We agree with you about Pascal Vincent. As far as the question, rotating for the sake of rotating, I don't know. If somebody's performing well in Montreal, are they going to be rotated down to Laval just to give somebody a chance in Laval? I don't know. I think you'd want to see, does Mailloux, is he going through a rough patch? Does he need to go to Laval? Lane Hudson, is he getting knocked around? Does he need to go to Laval? I think that's the reasoning rather than just giving an exposure. And listen, if somebody is playing well enough in Laval and there's injuries or a player is moved, then an opportunity opens up.
Yep, I agree with you there, Rick. And I will add, too, that I'd never like the idea of having a young player, play one game in the NHL and then the next game in the AHL and then another call-up and then another sent down. It can be pretty difficult to adjust. So I think consistency to an extent will be key here. But I'm going to echo everything you just said there. If someone needs some time in the AHL and they're struggling a bit at the NHL level, I wouldn't hesitate to make a little bit of a swap, or if someone in the AHL just absolutely breaks down the door, then I don't mind giving him a look either. So great question coming from you, Basic.
And I think, I'm just going to toss something else into the hopper here. It came up this week where Pascal Vincent was asked, are there players whose play is just better suited to the NHL? So they may not look great in the AHL, but their play is better suited. Does that apply to a Sean Farrell? Does that apply to a Lane Hudson? Does that apply? And he seemed to acknowledge that indeed that's the case. So there's other reasons why a player might be with a big club, even though they may not be showing their best in the AHL.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting point there, Rick, as well. I feel like I've heard that about goaltenders pretty frequently, but you don't always get to hear that about some of the other players too, so I appreciate you pointing that out. And I think it's a good time to let everyone know what to look out for this week, apart from the rookie tournament this weekend on Saturday as we record, and then second game happening on Sunday at 1 p.m., I believe. The Habs have their annual golf tournament that takes place on Monday, September the 16th, and Canadiens' main training camp will commence on Wednesday, September the 18th. So the season is underway, and that is going to be a wrap for us today. Thank you all for listening. Make sure that you're subscribed to the Canadiens Connection podcast in the player or on any of your favorite podcasting apps, and you can share it on social media if you like what you heard. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be back here next Saturday, September the 21st, for another great episode. Thank you all for listening to the Canadiens Connection podcast right here on Rocket Sports Radio.
Click subscribe so you never miss an episode of Canadiens Connection. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Rocket Sports.